All right. Welcome back. How you guys doing? It's the Dan and Jer show. That's what we're calling it sometimes. We also call it the Mush Love Talk or the Mushroom or the Mush Pod. Whatever one of those starts sticking, we'll stay with, but I'm going to call all of them for now. How you doing? I'm Jer. That's my man Dan.
What's
He's
up?
the producer, the singer, the all Renaissance man, fitness man, all of that. Give me one second.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I had something going off. All right, so what I wanted to talk about this week, and if we go off of it and it changes, so be it. But basically, I've been definitely delving into microdose. I'm sure you guys know already if you've listened at all. Been enjoying it a lot. Something I've seen though, and I definitely agree with, is that it's probably best to do with someone to guide you. I would say probably I would call them a therapist, like a psychotherapist is just the name that's coming to mind. But really, could be probably anyone who's at least there to like ask you questions, to analyze some of the thoughts you've had, analyze some of the just feelings you've been having. And I guess what it relates to me is when I think of microdosing, I obviously think of like trips and like rituals and stuff. So like an ayahuasca ceremony or even like a mushroom ceremony, a lot of times you have like a shaman. And I guess would you consider that shaman to be like the same as a therapist? Or I guess what are your thoughts on like having someone guide you? Do you need to have that? Is it just recommended? Is it always someone who looks the same? Is it, or can it vary in as far as what that person's role is?
So yeah, I mean, I think what I do think there's a difference between like shaman, let's say, and therapist. You know what I mean? And I don't. I think they can also fulfill probably similar purposes, but you know what I mean? Like a therapist, definitely, it seems like that would be a little bit more controlled of an environment, and probably someone who's kind of looking at things more from a mental perspective. Whereas I think a shaman would probably be more like holistically looking at the experience, probably be analyzing from a more spiritual or like kind of soulful perspective. And I think a lot of these words like can have heavy connotations, so people might think you're like, I think like if I was like, oh, I'm a shaman, you know what I mean? I think a lot of people would roll their eyes, but I also feel that a lot of people can serve that purpose in ways that, you know what I mean, still fit that definition. Like nowadays, like I'm someone, for example, who I'm, you know, I facilitate, like I give some microdoses to my friends. Sometimes I've let them try it. I'm also the one, like you said, a lot of the time for my friends' first experience, I'm sort of that spirit guide for my friend group. You know, if someone's a little bit uneasy or anything, I'm normally the one guiding them. But I mean, if you think of a shaman, what are they? They're men who they're medicine men who do music and these ceremonial type of things. So it's like under that definition, you know what I mean? I'm giving people medicine. I'm making sure they have a good time and they're safe, and I'm playing good music and making sure that the trip is set in a way where there's going to be no intrusions or negative vibrations and stuff. So I do think when people think shaman, they think of like giant headdresses and, you know, crazy shit. But I also think that, you know, a lot of people could fulfill those roles nowadays in a more loose definition.
Yeah, and I think something that definitely resonated me from the start of what you just said is like the negative connotations with words. So I think you were mostly like kind of thinking of shaman has a negative connotation. I actually would also say like therapist has a negative connotation also, and I feel like both of those, in my opinion, shouldn't have negative connotations. And it's like unfortunate that they do. Like people think therapy and they're like, oh, you must have issues, and it's like, oh,
Right.
maybe in my opinion a therapist is like there to help you resolve things, not necessarily like because you have problems, but because you want to
Be
problem
better.
solve them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like a shaman definitely sounds like weird. I mean, people think of mushrooms or drugs and they're like negative connotation, and then when they think of a shaman, who knows what they're actually thinking. But I think that's it's a good point that like a lot of people just like think of those things
As like
right off the bat.
mystical. Yeah, that's the thing is I don't personally think the word. Personally think that therapist has a more negative connotation in my mind than shaman. But I think for general society, you say like, yeah, I'm gonna visit a shaman. They look at you like, oh, this dude spun out. You know what I mean? So it's sad that it has to be that when like I said, anyone could fulfill the role of the shaman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I met like this guy about a month ago, and he calls himself a shaman.
Right.
And when I was talking about him to someone else, someone was like, "What makes him a shaman?" And I feel like the person was kind of like questioning it, like they
Right.
didn't believe it. And it's like, hey, the guy's a shaman because he said he's a shaman. Like that's basically it. The guy is. I don't even know exactly what the definition of shaman is. I guess it's like something with dealing with the spirits and all that. But if that's what the guy does, in my opinion, that's what they do. I guess let's segue because I could talk about that all day. But like, do you think it's important then, or how important is it to have someone of that in that realm
Uh,
for your different experiences?
Utmost importance, especially in the beginning. I think
Right.
you can be that person for yourself over time as well. But I think in the early stages of the process, it's just good. I mean, people talk about setting, you know, all those things, like making sure you're in the right place, around the right energy and stuff. And I feel like that person's role, whether you want to call it a shaman or your trip guide or whatever the word may be, I feel like their role is to ensure that if there are any independent variables that pop up along the way that weren't expected, because normally in the beginning you want to have everything accounted for as much as possible. You're not going to be out in public where a cop drives by and tweaks you out or whatever. So, but then there's always going to be those independent variables that might arise, whether it's an emotional thing that happens or a thought loop and stuff. And I think the role of the people who are more experienced is to catch those things because they've experienced it before. Someone who it's new, they don't actually know what's going on. They don't know that even might be part of it. Like thought loops, I think anyone who's tripped hard on mushrooms before has probably experienced some form of a thought loop to a degree. And if it was your first time, or I remember the first time I took them, I was going through a thought loop. And my first experience was like in a really full venue. Like I didn't have someone there and I was just like, oh my God, am I losing my mind? Like I was feeling claustrophobic. Meanwhile, all these things are kind of natural. Like if I went to a sold out venue and I was tight as shoulder to shoulder now, I think I would still feel that way. But yeah, no, those roles are super, super important to me in the beginning.
Yeah, I agree. I guess next question would be, how would you seek those people out? Like, a friend might be someone, but what if you want someone a little bit more advanced? What would you? Do you have any recommendations how you would like seek that person out?
This is kind of a weird, like double-edged sword question. I'm gonna give you kind of like the non-answer and then the answer, but I don't know if you should be seeking it out sometimes, which is kind of a weird answer to give. I feel like a lot of these times, or at least me personally, I don't want to project my experience on others, but at least me personally, a lot of my early trips were from very spontaneous experiences where kind of like these guiding figures came to me. And obviously that's not going to be the case for anyone. You know, some people are going to be spiritually inquisitive and not have those type of mentors to look to. However, I do think there is a certain level of like, if you're just like searching out for it so hard to the point where your ego is involved and you're like, I want to try this and I need to meet this mentor, then there might be negative intention going, or not even negative per se, but it's you know what I mean? You're trying to control it and put too much of the experience into your own like humanistic ego. Whereas I think a lot of the times too, like at least for me, those people kind of like found me rather than me finding them. But if you did, you know what I mean? If you do need that mentor, or you are someone who's spiritually inquisitive, you know, I think there's a lot of things now, like at least within our own community and stuff, and like what Mushmore's doing and stuff, like you can see there's now Discord or Twitter, like a lot of people are very receptive to it. So you might not get that person who's going to be right there, you know what I mean, but at least you can have someone on the internet. There's chat rooms, there's groups and stuff like that. So it's like if you're having questions, you're having an experience, there'll be people to at least explain what did happen or what might happen and stuff. Like, you know, if for say someone had no one else who would do it with them their first time, at least they could go in and like go on forums and talk to a community of people and understand like what to expect and what, you know what I mean, certain things, which is still not to say they shouldn't have someone there in person, but at least you get a chance to prepare yourself more if that was the only option.
Definitely, yeah. And I mean, something I agree with you completely. I would push back a little where you said like you would wait for it to come to you.
Well, you might wait your whole life. Yeah. So
Yeah, and I think we've mentioned before is both me and you, I feel like we haven't realized how big our network is, that other people don't always have. So like
we do take
with
it
us,
for granted. Yeah.
it naturally like comes to us. There's some people who like just don't have that network where it might not happen if they don't like seek it a little bit. But I do agree with you. Like um you can't force it because that's gonna just not be also good. Also, like it's gotta come kind of naturally. I don't know. There's a balance, but also I guess too another thing you mentioned is like there's a lot more resources online now, and I do know so I don't know much about like ketamine, but like ketamine is legal now for
Like
therapeutic.
therapists, yeah.
So like I have a friend who actually signed up and did the ketamine therapy and said it was actually like really cool. Like the person walks you through everything, is very professional, all that.
Right.
But my my hope is, and I kind of see it happening, is there will be options like that in the near future for all types of hallucinogens and drugs and whatever it is you might think would be of help for you.
Right. Based off what you said, I think in Amsterdam they have psilocybin guided therapy in some of the countries where it's legal in Europe, and I think Amsterdam in particular. But a live streamer that I used to watch who actually passed, whatever, just some dude used to play video games that I watched on Twitch. He was in Amsterdam for one of his early, maybe his first time on psilocybin, and he said he did one of those guided therapy sessions, and he said for him it was like completely life changing, and it like broke down a bunch of walls. And then after that experience in the US, he like wanted to seek out just normal therapy and stuff. So having that experience of that guided psilocybin therapy session kind of broke down, like you said, a lot of people have these negative stigmas of what therapy is, and he said after that it completely changed his perception of like, oh, this is something just because I want to do more and do better, rather than like, you know what I mean, look at it like, oh, something's wrong with me, I can't do that.
Yep. No, and definitely. And that leads us also back to when we said like mushrooms don't necessarily heal you, but they lead you to the healing. For me,
Yeah.
that's like an example of that. But also, just to mention, I've done, so they don't call it mushrooms in Amsterdam, they call them truffles.
Truffles, yeah.
Because they don't dry them or something. I don't know exactly the difference. I'll have to look that up. But I did the truffles in Amsterdam, and they're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a therapeutic experience. I just had a wild experience. I think that the best part was when my friend didn't think that they were working, and we went to a restaurant, and literally, like right when we opened the menu, all of us just put our heads down, and like the waitress had no idea what was going on, and like ordering was the hardest thing to do. Uh,
It's
super
always when
difficult.
you say it out loud, you're like, I don't think they're working. Then the universe is like, boom.
Yeah, like, oh, watch this. But yeah, great time. I think that wraps up all of my thoughts for today. Do you have any closing thoughts, Danny?
Nah, I'm kind of scatterbrained today. I got a lot on my mind outside of this, but yeah, nothing in particular. I think that was pretty solid today, for sure.
Yeah, no, that was pretty dope. I enjoy the conversation as always. If you guys listen, like, subscribe, please let us know what you want to listen to. And if you want to join our conversation, we'd love to hear you. Maybe we'll put you through a little therapeutic experience on the podcast or something. I don't know what I'm saying. Thank you. Have a good one. See you guys next week.
Peace
Love
out.
you.
Much love.
Much love. Peace. All right, dope. Yo, what's it called? I feel like what was I gonna say? I feel like if I recorded that, there definitely would have been a an echo. I can see when there's an issue or when there would be an issue. I just don't know how to always solve it. So I'm glad you recorded that instead of me.
One day this week or something, or whenever you get a free day, just let me know. I'd be happy to come by and set your whole shit up on some
Yeah,
some
I